Here are some natural ways to help support your perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms, whether you choose to take HRT or not. I had a live this week with the wonderful Karen Newby, nutritionist and author of the Natural Menopause Method. Unfortunately, the tech gremlins in my phone mean that I can't upload the actual video for you, so I'm giving you the summary in this shorter video here. So first of all, it starts with the 4 pillars of, good health and well-being, whether you're perimenopausal, menopausal or not. And they are going to be prioritising and making space for adequate quality and good quantities of sleep. And that can be tricky. Turn off your phones an hour before bedtime. Leave your phone outside your bedroom. Make sure your bedroom is a nice room temperature around 16 degrees. Think about a hot bath or shower before you go to bed to reduce your core body temperature, to allow it to be more comfortable throughout the evening. Wear cotton or breathable pyjamas, and again comfortable bedding that's not going to be too hot or too cold for you. Also think about getting early daylight exposure and recurrent daylight exposure throughout the day, ideally in nature, which is going to help to soothe your nervous system and make you feel grounded as well. But the more daylight exposure we get throughout the day, the higher the sleep pressure, because melatonin is produced when we're exposed to daylight, and that's what drives sleep pressure to get us off to a nice restful night's sleep. CBT is a proven strategy to help with insomnia and sleep, so if you're really struggling, think about going down that route too. Exercise and movement, not only can it help with you getting a better night's sleep, but it can also help to ease anxiety and stress, which is another of the other really important pillars of health and well-being at this stage. Find a form of movement that really gives you joy. There's no point in you signing up for something that makes you feel absolutely wretched and that you hate doing. Find something that makes your heart sing, because you're going to want to do it again and again and again. And the key here is to do things that are a variety, that are going to exercise and work different muscles in your body, and thinking about trying to focus on building lean muscle, because we tend to lose muscle as we age, and actually muscle loss can cause problems with metabolism, immune dysfunction, but also problems in terms of your musculoskeletal and mechanical function. Thinking about the stresses that you have, unfortunately stress is an inevitable part of midlife. We're being stretched in so many different directions. Think about any stresses that you can delegate or just offload completely and not have to worry about anymore. Those stresses that we have to deal with, think about your response to the stressful stimuli, and whether there are any ways to kind of improve that response. A simple strategy is breathwork exercises. Again, CBT can be really useful at giving you a toolkit to help manage your stress response, but also getting out in nature. I cannot stress the importance enough of being in nature. It is incredibly grounding and helps to soothe our nervous system, which in turn will allow us to experience and encounter more stress without feeling overwhelmed by it. So how can we harness the power of what we're eating and consuming and nourishing our bodies with in order to help support our health and well-being during this phase? Firstly, let's focus on our gut health. We know that ultra-processed foods can be really detrimental to our gut health. It can disrupt the normal gut microbiome that is really important for gut function and that allows us to absorb the nutrients from the food that we're eating. Likewise, alcohol can have a negative effect on the gut microbiome, as well as having a terrible effect on our central nervous system and impacting sleep and causing havoc for our blood sugar control and our metabolic health. So needless to say, if you can cut down or even cut out alcohol completely, you're likely to see benefits. Try and introduce as many foods into the diet that have an abundance of probiotics in them. And largely speaking here, we're talking about high fibre foods that have got different probiotics in them, and plants are going to be the best source of these. When I say plants, I don't just mean fruits and vegetables. I mean nuts, seeds, herbs, spices, grains, fruits, veggies, the whole lot. They all count, and they all have a very different but very unique set of probiotics that can be really beneficial at adding diversity to our gut, helping our gut to work better. If this is very difficult for you, you might also want to think about adding in a probiotic supplement. Alongside thinking about alcohol, think about other ways to support your liver health. And one thing that you might want to think about is actually time-restricted eating. So looking at eating within a confined window throughout the day. I think 12 hours is a reasonable place to start. So eating within a 12-hour window, and then perhaps not eating for 12 hours every 24 hours to give your body and your liver enough time to do all the important processing that it needs to do. This can, in some people, increase metabolism and help to maintain much sort of more favourable blood sugar levels, which in turn can reduce that metabolic stress, which might have a positive impact on things like your weight management. So once we've prioritised our sleep, got our movement right, managed our stress and our metabolic stress, once we've thought about our gut health, what next? So next, think about how you eat. I think so many of us are guilty of grabbing something on the move or eating at our desks because we're like time poor and know that we need to eat something. But try and think about it slightly differently. Like the way that we fuel our bodies is one of the most important things that we're going to do. We're asking a lot of our bodies. We have to give our cells adequate resource to do the job that we're asking them to do in as optimal a way as possible. And so making time and space for food and encouraging that in everybody around you as well, so that it's not just you, it's everybody gaining from that from this. If you can, sit down to eat with cutlery and crockery rather than eating out of a packet on the go. And if you can, put your cutlery down between each mouthful to make sure that you chew adequately. That will also help in terms of digestion. If you're somebody who's on the go and often having to grab a snack in order to stop you from feeling super hungry or wobbly in the middle of the afternoon, think about ways to anchor your hunger. And that is going to be by starting the day, ideally with a really nutritious, energy-dense breakfast. So something that's high in protein, high in fibre, but also has some healthy fats involved in order to deliver blood sugar into the bloodstream in a consistent way across the day. If you're appropriately anchoring your hunger with each of your 3 meals a day, you shouldn't need snacks. But if you do, make sure that you've got some healthy options around. If you're not allergic to nuts, then nuts make a great snack. It doesn't need to be super expensive and certainly doesn't need to be ultra processed. And invest in your nutrition. Food doesn't have to be super expensive, but if you can, invest in the highest quality food you can, but perhaps go for a smaller quantity of it. I would actually argue in many ways that focusing on the nutritional elements of your health and well-being is actually one of the most affordable, accessible and easily actionable strategies to help, and it can also make you feel really empowered and in control. I love a phrase that Karen used during our live. She said, we need to be radical about nourishment. And I really like that phrase because I think so often sort of food, nutrition, what we eat is a kind of, it's not a priority, but by being radical, by making it a priority, we can really, experience positive change. Make time, don't rush, be mindful, savour and really enjoy what you're eating. Make food joyful and a celebration at every opportunity if you can. I appreciate that sometimes you've just got to fuel and that is fine, but even then, try and do so slowly and mindfully rather than rushing it all the time. One of the biggest challenges I face personally, I know a lot of my contemporaries do too, is not only am I feeding myself, I'm also having to food plan and prep for my entire family, which can be really tricky. Now, I'm afraid this isn't something that I have a solution to. Any recommendations would be most welcome. I hope this whistle-stop summary has been helpful.